Well, Susan Thurman has been a member of WOW since she retired from a 40-year career as a teacher and coach at Red Bank High School in 2010. She's had many titles. They've been teacher and coach and sister and mom and Grammy. But today she's going to speak to us about a title she holds very dear to her heart, and that's the title of Mrs. Tom Thurman. So join me in welcoming Susan.
Kathy,
Yes,
thank you. She's a little short. I'd like to begin by thanking all of you for coming today. To my WOW sisters, you've heard me speak before and you still showed up, so I do appreciate you being here today. Your prayers and support and cards and notes have meant so much to me over the last few months. I also want to thank my sisters, Judy and Cindy, who came to be with me today. Some dear teacher friends from Red Bank High School, some ladies in my Sunday school class that they've just been wonderful they were wonderful during Tom's sickness and during his death and funeral and all of that. The golfing friends from Valley Brook, from Council Fire, from Brainerd, thank you so much. You all have this is a group of people that we're so competitive against each other, but let something happen and they come together and they're there to lift you up and pick you up all the time. And I so appreciate that. Some close friends who have been my rock for many years. All of you have loved me, prayed for me, and showed me how much you cared in many ways. And I thank God for you, and I have asked Him to bless each of you in a special way. I was once told the best way to help yourself is to help someone else. In my devotions one morning, I prayed that God would help me find a way to use this trial and this storm that I was going through in my life to help someone else. As I was walking my dog in the afternoon, I prayed again that the Holy Spirit just put something in my mind, put something in my brain to think of some way that I could use this to help someone else. That evening, I received a text message from Kathy, which read, "This may not be the right time for you, but I was wondering if you would like to share a bit about your journey with Tom's illness and death in WOW." I just said, "Thank you, God," message received. And then I called Kathy. There was a television show a while back called This Is Us. And I want to begin with our story, which could have the same title. I first met Tom Thurman on a blind date in February of 1975. We were introduced by a teacher friend that I was on bus duty with, whose husband was a salesman at the company where Tom had just been named the manager. He had moved from Knoxville to Chattanooga, and he didn't know anybody. And he needed a date for a company event that they were going to have, a dinner dance at the Signal Mountain Golf and Country Club. My teacher's husband asked her to find someone to go with him. So she asked me if I would like to go. And I said emphatically, "No, I'm not going." Next day on bus duty, she asked me again. "Nope, I'm not going. I've been burned one too many times with blind dates. I'm not going." Third day in a row, she came and asked, "Look, Susan, I'm really desperate." I said, "Well, what about this one or what about that one?" She said, "Look, he used to be a coach. He likes the things you like. I think you're going to get along." And I said, "You are so desperate." I said, "Okay, I'll go." So I agreed to go. He took me home that evening and asked if he could call me and us maybe go out again, which I said yes. So the rest of February, we went out a couple of times a week. It wasn't until March that we had our first serious conversation. He had invited me over for a late dinner that he was cooking, which that in itself impressed me because I couldn't cook. And after dinner, We talked until 4 a.m. It was a weeknight, and we both had to go to work the next morning. Driving home at 4 in the morning, and yes, I did go home, I was convinced that this was the man that I wanted to marry. He checked all of the boxes that I wanted in a husband. We were engaged on May the 6th. We were married on August the 16th, 1975. He was 29, and I was 27. They say if your marriage can survive building a house, that you may make it. Well, we built two, and we survived. We had 2 children who completed our family. As the years went by, I realized that I may have hit the lottery in having a great husband. He was one of the most selfless men I had ever met. He never wanted the spotlight on himself, but he wanted it on me, and he wanted it on our children. He sacrificed a lot to make that happen through opportunities, and then he gave the support in all that we did. I often referred to him as the wind beneath my wings because he was always there to help me fly. Tom wanted me to live out my dreams of motherhood, being a successful coach and teacher, and being a competitive golfer. He did the same for our children, Aaron and Jim. Tom was the youngest of 6 children, and the sibling closest to him was 8 years older. I asked him one time if his name was Mistake, but he didn't respond to that. But his parents were much older than all of his friends' parents, and I think that may be the reason he had such a love for senior citizens. He rarely missed an opportunity to make an older person feel valued, important, and loved. He loved Jesus, he loved our family, and he loved our country. He was a proud member of the United States Air Force during the Vietnam War. We often shared devotional and prayer times together, and he always thanked God for salvation. He prayed for our family by name, and he prayed for our country and our leaders. Tom was strong and muscular. He worked hard at his job, and he worked hard at making our yard look like Augusta National. I think watching his body break down was the hardest on our children when he started getting sick. He had 3 stents put in his heart in the late 90s. He had a quadruple bypass in 2015. The doctor told him, "You look like a picture of health, but genetics got you." For the last 10 years, his body began to slowly deteriorate. The last 5 years, he had extended stays in the hospital. It became our new normal. They discovered he also had 2 blood diseases, myelodysplasia, where his bone marrow didn't make enough good red blood cells, and myeloproliferative disorder, where his bone marrow made too many white blood cells. His oncologist told him, "I have treated both of these diseases, but I've never treated them both in the same person." This caused his hemoglobin levels to be very low, and he was very weak. He had 2 carotid artery surgeries, with the last one causing him to be in ICU for 6 days and have 3 surgeries on the same artery. He was also diagnosed with stage 3 chronic kidney disease. He had a heart attack between Thanksgiving and December 13th of last year, which caused his kidneys to quit working, and he had to go on permanent dialysis 3 days a week. But it was the 10-day hospital stay before Christmas last year that we both realized the end might be near. He was having trouble breathing and was sitting on the edge of the bed. I sat beside him, and we both just held each other and cried. He told me how much he loved me and what a wonderful life we had had. But he was struggling, so I ran to get help. They came in, and when they got him settled down and left, I crawled into bed with him. And he said, let's just talk about all of the things that we are thankful for, and let's count our blessings. God didn't take him then, and we got home for Christmas 2 days before. And God gave us 7 more months, and during this time, he had 3 more hospital stays. But he was the favorite patient of all of his nurses. He was so thoughtful and appreciative of their care, and he let them know it every day. 3 of his doctors sent me handwritten letters after his death, each saying what a privilege it had been to be his doctor and to care for him. His faith, positive attitude, and kindness had impacted all of their lives. Thankfully, Tom was not in a lot of pain. He was just very weak and had difficulty walking even short distances. It was during the his last months on earth, that we became so close, just enjoying the simple things in life, like having breakfast on our deck and trying to name the birds that were singing to us, watching movies together in the afternoon, and cooking dinner together in the evening if he felt like it. On good days, we took rides through the countryside, listening to our favorite music with the windows rolled down and singing loud enough that the cows could hear us. We were married 49 years and 343 days. We had planned a trip to the beach for our anniversary where we had spent our honeymoon. We were going to eat at the same restaurants and visit many of the same places, and we were both excited as we planned this getaway. But God had other plans and took him home on July 25th, which was 17 days before we were to leave for our 50th anniversary celebration. Grief is a journey that sooner or later we all must take. No one can tell you exactly how you should grieve because it's a personal path unique to everyone who walks it. And there's no single right way to grieve. Every griever wonders, will life be better? Will the pain ever go away? Will I make it through this? No one tells you this is part of it. No one warns you that loving deeply means that one day you're going to grieve just as deeply, and it will be worth it, and it will also break you. The same heart capable of holding immeasurable joy will one day have to hold unbearable sorrow. On my own journey through grief, I know that faith is indispensable. Our relationship with God influences our ability to navigate through what seems like insurmountable pain. I've learned it always doesn't feel like drowning. Sometimes the waves pull back and you breathe a little easier. A memory makes you smile before it breaks your heart. Grief isn't at all what we expect. It's worse. Would I erase the love to escape the pain? The answer is always no, because grief isn't just pain. It's proof that something beautiful existed and we were giving something worth missing. So on the hard days, you remind yourself that you enjoyed the love to escape the grief, and you will endure a lifetime of missing them for the privilege of having loved them. And maybe that's the most brutal and beautiful part of it all. Grief stays because love never left. Tom said to me many times, Susan, I am so sorry you didn't sign up for this. And I responded, oh, yes, I did, for better or for worse, for sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, till death do us part. I said I do, and that has never changed. Tom never complained, nor did he seem depressed over his situation. He would frequently say, you don't have to look far to see someone worse off than you. But I disagreed with him on that one. As if his death wasn't stressful enough, the decisions I had to make following his death were overwhelming at times. But God never left me, and He provided blessings and comfort in some of the most unexpected ways by people I didn't even know. A great example of this happened when I didn't know what I was going to do with all of his clothes. I got an email from Inspire, a company that provides for the homeless, saying they were having a clothes drive for the homeless to help them to have something nice to wear and for job interviews and something nice to wear to work. They ask you to put clothes in garbage bags and then put them on your front porch, and on a designated day, they come by and pick them up. I saw them drive up in front of my house, and I went out to tell the gentleman who was picking them up that the bulky coats I had would not fit in the garbage bags. And I told him that my husband had passed away, and all of these were his clothes. And then out of nowhere, I began to cry. The black man looked at me with so much compassion on his face and asked, "Can I give you a hug?" He walked over and hugged me, and then I told him that I had prayed over these clothes, that someone's life could be changed, and that the donation could make a difference and give them a better life. He looked at me and said, "I am one of those people." As he walked away, he turned and said, "God bless you, ma'am." And I responded, "He just did." I knew then that God was working in my life and would be working in the life of some homeless men. I could feel Tom smiling down on me, and a great sense of peace took over where anguish and anxiety had lived. I saw a quote that resonated with me and found it to be so true. It said, "Friends are God's way of showing you never have to walk alone." Friends have reached out and walked with me, and I've been so blessed to have them by my side. Someone said, when two souls that know grief find each other, healing begins. This was exactly what happened for me and my friend Nancy Logue, who lost her husband 9 months before Tom. We both believed that God brought us together as friends because down the road we would need each other during times such as these. Nancy has been such an understanding encourager to me, calling and lifting me up and telling me this will go away, this will get better, and helping me throughout the whole process. Sometimes people don't know what to do or what to say. I want to share with you what's been helpful and healing to me. The late night phone calls when the silence in your house is deafening and the loneliness is magnified, and you just need someone to listen and to talk to you. Friends and family encouraging me to get back to the activities that I enjoy. Hugs that spoke more than words could say. Receiving notes and cards and messages and Bible verses that came in the mail and said just what I needed to hear on that day. Coming home after a frustrating day to find a big box on the front porch from a group of dear friends to brighten my day. Friends who are not afraid to talk about Tom to me. Neighbors who ask often, "Is there anything I can do for you today?" Having family members who check on me daily to make sure they were around when I was at my low point. Phone calls saying, "I'm here for you. I love you." The food, the lunches, the dinners have been such a blessing. I went for a month without having to go to the grocery store, and I used to go every day. Friends asking if they could stop by for a short visit, and receiving a card which said, "On the hard days, know I am praying for you." The reality of life is that we all have to go through losing someone we love, and many of you have been down that road already. It is hard to turn the page when you know someone won't be in the next chapter. Their absence is a hollow place in your heart. The silence that lingers is where laughter once lived. Grief isn't just sadness, it's love that has nowhere to go and a longing that time cannot erase. You find them in familiar songs, in places you once shared, and in the habits they left behind. The world moves forward, but yet part of you remains in the past, frozen. But turning the page doesn't mean forgetting. It means carrying them with us in the lessons they taught, the love they gave, and the strength they left behind. The page turns not because we want it to, but because life demands it, and they would want us to keep going. We don't get to choose the storms in our lives, but we do get to choose what comes next, how we go on, how we heal, how we live, and how we go forward. People told me all the first would be the hardest. Something as trivial as filling out papers at a doctor's appointment and checking the correct box that asks married, single, divorced, widowed. Suddenly, it became so real. And there it was, written in black and white. It took my breath away for a minute before I checked the box, widowed. My stomach has been in turmoil just thinking about the first holidays without Tom. I know he wouldn't want us to be sad and tearful, so I've been trying to think of things that we maybe could do differently that might not make it hurt so badly and be glaringly apparent that he won't be with us. His birthday was last Sunday. Part of my family was going to be out of town, so we couldn't all be together. So after the family celebration of my son's birthday dinner in October, I told my family I had something I wanted us to do for Papa's birthday. I said that what made him the happiest was to be able to help others. So I gave a $50 bill to every person at the table. I told them I wanted them to use it to help someone. They could split it up and help several people, or they could use it all on one. But they have until Thanksgiving to do something. And then at our family Thanksgiving dinner, everyone would share how they celebrated Papa's birthday. On Sunday morning, last week I was out of town on a ladies' golf trip. We came back Saturday. The closer we got to Chattanooga, the more anxious I began to feel again because I knew Tom's birthday was the next day. He would have been 80 years old on Sunday. And every decade, we always did something special, whether it was a trip, a cruise, a really, really nice gift. We always made that decade birthday a happy one. So I didn't know what I was going to do. And the next morning, I got up and I thought, well, I'm going to put on Facebook that today's his birthday. So I did. And this was like at 4:44 in the morning. And about 5 o'clock, I get a text from Nancy Logue. I see you're up. Is everything okay? And so we texted back a few times. But after I did that on Facebook, then I read my devotions. And then I started to pray. And never in my life before have I cried out to God like I did that morning. It was a time that the pain was so bad that I begged him to take it away and help me to find somebody that I could help, something that I could do. So Tom and I, when he got out of dialysis many mornings, we would stop at Waffle House to eat. He enjoyed doing that if he felt like it. So I just decided, after the tears stopped and the screaming at God stopped, I just decided I was going to go to Waffle House. So I went to Waffle House. I sat in a booth. It wasn't real crowded, so I didn't sit up at the counter. I sat in a booth, and everybody that came in, I just looked and said, is this a person that I need to help? God, let me know who I need to help. And so I got finished, and I hadn't seen anybody that I really felt like I needed to help. I went up and paid my bill, and then I looked to my left, and I saw a family sitting there having breakfast. So I paid for my bill, and their bill, their ticket, was on the edge of their table. So I walked over, and I said, you don't know me, and I don't know you, but I have something that I would like to ask you. And I'm sure this guy thought, what kind of lunatic is this that's about to ask me for money or something like that? But I said, my husband just recently passed away, and one of the great joys in his life was helping somebody else. And today is his birthday, and I want to celebrate his birthday by helping you. So I would like to pay for your meal. And his wife looked at me and she said, is today his birthday? November 9th, today is his birthday? And I went, yes, he would have been 80 today. She said, today is my birthday too. I knew that God had picked the right people. And I gave them, I took the ticket, I paid for the ticket, and I wished her a happy birthday and said, I hope you have a wonderful day. I left and I walked out of the restaurant, and honestly, the weight of the world had been lifted from me. And I don't tell you that story for any accolades to me. I tell you that story because God is a mighty God that helps us. And he helps us through times that we can pick out who we can help and what we can do to help someone else. My faith and family and friends are how I have survived. Grief reveals the element of faith in everyone, and it shows you where you place your trust when faced with the reality of loss. You have heard these Bible verses from Jada a few weeks ago. You heard them from Nancy today. So about the third time ought to be charmed. You ought to be able to memorize them. But Matthew 5:3, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Psalms 34:18, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. In Ecclesiastes 1:3, 1 and 4, to everything there is a season, and to every purpose under heaven, a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. As I reflect on my experience, I realize that some days you break, some days you breathe, but every day you remember the one you loved. I know God is with me on the good days. I know he's with me on the hard ones, and he will never leave me or forsake me. And I know I can always lean on him because his son who died for us gave us the plan of salvation. I will spend eternity with Tom, and until heaven reunites us, I'll keep his love close, forever grateful for the blessing of being his wife. Right now, I would like for you to put your attention to the screen. I want you to meet the blind date who stole my heart.
Looking back on the memory of the dance we shared beneath the stars above. For a moment, all the world was right. How could I have known that you'd ever say goodbye? And now I'm glad I didn't know the way it all would end, the way it all would go. Our lives are better left to chance. I could have missed the pain, but I'd have had to miss the dance. Holding you, I held everything. For a moment, wasn't I the king? But if I'd only known how the king would fall, hey, who's to say? You know I might have changed it all. And now I'm glad I didn't know the way it all would end, the way it all would go. Our lives are better left to chance. I could have missed the pain, but I'd have had to miss the dance. It's my life, it's better left to chance. I could have missed the pain, but I'd have had to miss the dance.
When Kathy told me the title of this unit of study was The Power of God's Interruptions, I knew I needed His power to help me. I know without a shadow of a doubt that God has been with me and has used His power to lead and guide me. Is my grief gone? Absolutely not. Am I still going to have hard days? Yes, I know that I will. But I also know that God has the power to heal a broken heart. I know He is with me and He can be with you. I also believe that trials and storms in our lives are ways that He draws us closer to Him. And in your times of trouble and confusion and sadness, go to the Father, for He is waiting. I wrote this quote in the front of my Bible, and it sums up everything that I have said. Grief doesn't end, but it changes. It is a passage, not a place to stay. It is not a sign of weakness, nor a lack of faith. Grief is the price of love.